and stand there and declare yourself on behalf of your brother or your sister. Else, injustice will not be replaced by the evidence and manifestation of love that constitutes change where change is needed. The attorney you have is not serving you, and another one needs to be found. Embroiled. It's a good word. It's a word the ego will throw in your face to discourage you when you are standing up for another against all odds, against the system, against what is unjust. You must persist here. You're not sacrificing your integrity in the process. You're standing with it, and you are expressing it. You are putting it into the air. You are expressing it in the world. Persist.
Thank you.
You are welcome.
Is it possible for me to ask you about a very specific thing that, as I said, I became very sensitive to behaviors and punishments and so on. I became aware of a man, actually, this is so convoluted. The man is the significant other of the mother of this young man who's in prison. And this man was just placed in prison for 10 years because he had engaged in unlawful conduct with the minor. Meant he fondled the 15-year-old daughter of his previous family. Now, I understand what this all means to society. I'm a school teacher. This is not lost on me. But this kind of hit home for me because when I was maybe 12 or 13, I approached my parents to be sexual with them. And I was just sort of politely dismissed and nothing ever came of it. And I just sort of wandered off and lived my life to this point. But I feel like if anything had happened, I would have been the instigator, not the adult. And it just seems so, well, for one thing, I feel like, does it really mean that, does he need 10 years? It seems to me like that's putting a lot of time between when he needs to engage in healing. And is it so terrible that it does need to be punished? And like I say, I know I would have been the one who was culpable had anything happened when I was very young. So, I just wish to know, although I'm very much aware that these must be individual cases and case by case and so on, but it's so difficult to handle issues that deal with sexual behavior that doesn't conform to what's expected by society. And as I say, this is going to sound strange, but I never was particularly worked up about it personally as a kid, even though I did it. It wasn't until years later that I began to realize, boy, was I creepy, So, I'm trying to decide what import this has for.
Well, what you're expressing is your willingness to be humane and your recognition that there really aren't any innocent victims. However, victimization must be disallowed. Reformation is needed. The system needs to be reformed. And this is why I have been talking about love?
Well, I wrote the judge who was going to sentence this man, and I said to him, I said, I know this is really horrendous what this guy, I used the appropriate words, and I wasn't quite as, I'm using different words right now. I said, I know this was not appropriate, and he has to have treatment, and it has to be certain that he would be of no danger, et cetera, et cetera. I said, but can you understand how damaging it could be to put a long stretch of time between the time this man and his daughter and his family begin their healing, and that made no difference. You know, the judge just decided, nope, the book says if you do this, that's what happens. And I felt like what a waste.
Indeed, but you must persist. You must persist without saying, this is the one specific thing that is going to cause me to withdraw my love and withdraw my involvement.
I see that.
Yes.
I do. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Witnessing for your brother or sister means being willing to come up and be counted. To put your commitment on the line and let it be known. And the reformation that needs to happen can happen without sorry, just a moment. It can happen without violence. But people are going to have to stand up and be counted and let their voice be heard on behalf of justice. What you feel seething in you is not anger, it's a clear sense of what justice is. And what justice is needs to have a voice. And it wants to emerge from you. If you mistake it for anger, then what justice is won't emerge. Violence is what will emerge.
Well, you describe it well, and I don't feel the inclination to be violent or to be irrational. And I don't lack the motivation to be heard, but I did need a little bit of reassurance because, quite frankly, there aren't a whole lot of people who are interested in listening, and I come across, I feel sometime like someone with
Look at the room
hands.
here. There aren't a whole lot of people who are willing to listen to me.
Okay, I get it.
It doesn't matter. Because in the willingness to put it out there, it travels. And it gets where it needs to go. And you can't afford to be discouraged because everyone isn't hearing it yet.
Thank you.
Your love counts. When you're willing to step up on behalf of your brother, on behalf of all that is the best in him, no matter how much of the worst there seems to be, you very often find out that you've bitten off more than you think you can chew. And arguments come to you that you were unwise. I'll tell you something, when that happens, all that's happening is that the borders of your tent are being stretched. Oh, I didn't know it was going to mean this much. What? You didn't know that it was going to mean that you would be in a position of discovering your greater capacity to be loved than you thought you had? Well, that's all it is. You're discovering your greater capacity to be loved than you thought you had. And this is good news, but the discovery of it isn't always pleasant, because you would like love to be magic. I love you. Well, you didn't change. I love you. You didn't change. You got to walk with them. You got to go further than you thought, because they're worth it. And you're worth it, and somebody needs to dare to walk with you too. Oh God, don't tell me that. And I've got to do all of this to wake up? If you want things to be better, you've got to be better than you've been being. And what I'm telling you is that you have the capacity to be better. You are better than you are being. The capacity to express it is already in you. But you've got to step up to the line. This is probably why there aren't more people here listening to me. Because I'm involving you in being involved with your brothers and sisters, and it takes commitment, it takes work. So that you can find the real value of love. The transformational value of love. So I'm telling you that there are things for you to do, not just think about in a spiritual Pollyanna way. And I'm also telling you that you already have all that it takes, even though you think you don't. It's the good news. We will take a break. It's interesting. Everyone tends to think of problems as blocks to your forward movement. Everyone defines problems as negative. In actuality, problems are when you have come up to the edge of what you know. And you say it's a problem because you don't know how to deal with it. Well, you could look at it this way. Problems are like questions. Questions are the leading edge of answers, aren't they? Problems are the leading edge of the unknown rather than the end of the known. You see? You come and you ask questions about things you don't know how to deal with. And the interesting thing is you expect me to share the answer with you. Well, if I have the answer for you, then the answer is available to you within yourself as well. But you don't expect it to be there because you are conditioned to experience this bind that you are calling a problem. You are interpreting it to be something that is against you, rather than a leading edge you're up against. You see the difference? You see the boundary of the known like it's a wall, and it's in your way, when it's really the threshold of discovery. It's the threshold of discovering something new, a new knowing. Again, it's like enlarging the borders of your tent. So if you were to begin to recognize that your problems are simply the threshold of the unknown, which means therefore that you must call curiosity into play rather than distress, then you will begin to find yourself discovering the answer. If I ask you a question, you don't say, "Oh, why do you have to give me that problem?" You answer the question. If you don't know what the answer is, you research it and find it and come back with it. You know there's an answer. It's not a dead end that a question has been asked. So, problems are where you have come up against the edge of what you know, and what it's calling for is curiosity to know what is beyond what you know, and a willingness to let in the answer, because the territory's there. You know, the world isn't flat with an edge. When you get up to an edge, there's more territory. So, who has a question? In the back in the stripes.
Here, Raj, just hearing you has made me reformulate. I might ask you about what I need to do next in my life. I talked to you about South Africa a few months ago. Is that the place of most meaning for me, fulfillment, purpose, all that?
I'm sorry, you have asked the first question that there really is no answer to. I encourage you to keep the door open on this and explore the potential for it with a willingness to move forward with it.
I see another way to another place to pay attention to, and that would be staying in Portland, and I need to find a new way to make money, and so they don't seem like they go together.
And where is the energy flowing?
Yeah, to South Africa, really, I think.
Within you, that's where the energy is moving?
Yeah, if the field is wide open, that if I can entertain doing anything, that seems brighter. You know, within the context of staying in Portland and being sort of a normal person, you know, I would just rather do catering than some other kind of job. But
so where is the most energy?
South Africa. All right, would it be appropriate for my friend to go with me?
You will have to
Jim.
ask your friend.
Okay. That
Now,
sounds too simple.
You might ask whether it's congruent with your movement for him or her to
be there.
accompany you.
You mean?
And the answer is that if it is of interest to your friend, it would be consistent with your movement.
Okay, it's not necessary to be by myself doing that. Is what
Absolutely
you're saying.
not.
Not. And okay, so my integrity, which is issue in relationships, needs to be honored to go there, regardless of being accompanied by this person or not. Even though it's a very, very, very important relationship.
There is no circumstance under which your integrity should not be honored.
Right.
Do you want to restate the question?
Well, I feel like I'm trying to cover a possibility, you know, that could occur in the future now. So that feels strange. But then I may not be able to ask you later if there's some answer that I could have now about the possibility of having to know, you know, if I just go anyway. And
Know what?
know now that I would go to South Africa no matter what else might, whatever other effects I might have on something else important in my life, this relationship. I'm not being very clear, but I'm sorry. I'm embarrassed.
If you pay attention to where the energy is in you and stay with it, you will be in your right place.
Okay.
If you don't argue against it with your thinking processes, you will remain unconfused and on target if you stay with the movement within you.
Okay.
Okay.
We're done. I get it. Thank you.
You're welcome. Hands. The gentleman with the beard.
Hi, Raj. At this point in my life, I think I'm finally getting at what you've been trying to do for 15 years. And so I'm feeling my heart opening to life, you know, and becoming more grounded. And consequently, and I felt this for a long time, but it brings with it a lot of grief about time lost in my life. I feel like it, you know, like a death of a child or something. Like and I can see as my vision opens on what I've missed, and as I grow, I mean, I can see that being a lifelong kind of thing that I don't want to carry it around, but yet it's in my really deep, the grief about the loss. So I'm asking, really, is there, anything I can do to facilitate her?
Well, that's a good way to keep you tied up for another 15 years.
Yeah, I know. It sounds like I know it feels that way too, like it's a deadly kind of a. It could be really, it could lead to self-pity. It could have all kinds of ways. It could be, get ugly.
It wasn't lost time, though.
Yeah, and I can say that to myself.
Everything that has happened has contributed to your real knowing.
Yeah.
And it will stand you in good stead for what is to come, so that you may be and speak from experience.
Yeah. I can definitely see that.
Where are you getting the measuring stick that says it was wasted time or lost time?
Mainly when I just look at young people particularly, I can see what I wasn't experiencing, what I didn't experience very clearly. And I used to think it was my imagination, but the older I get, I realize, no, it wasn't my imagination. I really didn't experience the joy of life. I missed it, because of all sorts of internal stuff. It's not my imagination, I'm pretty sure, but I know I'm not alone,
But you see, the time wasn't a void.
No.
It wasn't empty of life. It wasn't empty of experience. It wasn't empty of that which broadened and deepened you.
Yeah.
It just didn't fit some other standard or some other statistical analysis of what growing up is supposed to have meant. But nevertheless, you grew up. And I'm just saying, don't waste a moment feeling sorry.
Yeah.
You know what? All of you have very specific problems. All of you have very pertinent problems that you deal with in your life. They are pertinent because they are specific to the undoing of what keeps you asleep. They are pertinent to the undoing of the blocks that keep you from waking up. So everything that you have experienced has been absolutely essential. That's what I mean. None of the problems any of you have are irrelevant to you. So, you grew up differently from someone else and had different experiences. But none of the experiences you had were irrelevant to your waking up. So there is no cause for grief or sorrow for loss. All you are feeling that you lost is what somebody else apparently had. But you know what? If you were walking in their shoes, they'd say they'd rather have your problem because that would have been easy for them to deal with.
Maybe.
Oh,
I've heard that.
Yes, you're very special.
No, I knew that was coming. I know that was coming, but I know everybody feels that theirs is the worst. But
the point is that none of them were irrelevant.
yeah,
So value them. And you will find it easier to value them if you aren't distracted by the idea that they were irrelevant and therefore a total waste of time. Waking up, growing, is a matter of unlearning things that get in the way of your being fully realized. And all you've been engaged in is unlearning. And it may have been strenuous, and other unlearning processes may be less strenuous.